The first time I saw her, she was standing in my bedroom mirror. Not a stranger. Not exactly. But not the man I had been my entire life either. I remember the silence in that room. The kind of silence that feels loud, like the air itself is holding its breath. My hands were trembling, still dusted with foundation powder. My lips, were a soft rose color I'd applied only minutes earlier. And framed by the gentle fall of a chestnut wig, my face looked softer, smaller, brighter somehow. I blinked. She blinked back. "This is insane," I whispered to my reflection. But my voice sounded wrong, too deep, too sharp against the delicate image staring back at me. I reached up, fingers brushing against the curve of my cheek, tracing the careful contour I'd practiced from late-night tutorials. My heart pounded in my chest so hard I thought it might bruise my ribs. I wasn't supposed to be doing this. I wasn't supposed to feel this. Fear. Yes, that was there. Thick and heavy in my throat. But underneath it, excitement. Curiosity. A spark that had been smoldering for years and had finally caught flame. That night, standing in front of that mirror in a simple black dress I'd ordered in secret, I felt something shift inside me. Something irreversible. That was the night my double life began. It started quietly. Almost accidentally. Or at least that's what I told myself. By day, I was predictable. Reliable. Daniel, the quiet marketing analyst who wore crisp button-down shirts and neutral ties. The guy who showed up early, left on time, and never caused waves. My co-workers saw me as steady. Calm. Maybe a little boring. If only they knew. The first crack in my carefully constructed routine appeared when I found myself lingering in the women's section of a department store. I had gone in for socks. Socks. But my feet carried me somewhere else. I remember running my fingers across the fabric of a navy blouse. Soft chiffon, light as air. My pulse raced as I glanced around to make sure no one was watching. "What size are you looking for?" a sales associate asked gently. I froze. Heat flooded my face. "Oh, I'm just browsing. For my girlfriend." Girlfriend. The imaginary woman I'd been blaming for months. The associate smiled knowingly. Of course. Her smile wasn't mocking. It wasn't suspicious. It was normal. And that normalcy shook me. Because maybe this didn't have to feel like a crime. Still, I left the store empty-handed that day, heart pounding as if I'd narrowly escaped being caught doing something illegal. But the curiosity didn't fade. It grew. At work, I found myself distracted. During meetings, while colleagues discussed quarterly projections, my mind drifted elsewhere. What if I tried a skirt instead of a dress? Would a softer lipstick shade look more natural? Would anyone recognize me if I changed my posture? My walk? I hated how obsessive it felt. I hated how alive it made me feel. One evening, my friend Marcus invited me out for drinks. "You've been distant lately," he said, raising an eyebrow as we sat in our usual booth. "Everything okay?" "Yeah. Just tired," I replied quickly. He studied me for a moment. "You sure? You seem different." Different. The word echoed in my mind long after the conversation moved on. Did he see it? Was it written all over me? I became hyper-aware of every gesture, every tone shift, every glance from strangers on the subway. I started imagining whispers that probably didn't exist. His acting weird. He looks softer. Something's off. The paranoia was exhausting. But the secret, my secret, was intoxicating. The first time I fully dressed as her, it was past midnight. I had waited until the city outside my apartment quieted down. Until I was certain no one would knock on my door. The package had arrived earlier that day. I'd carried it inside like contraband, locking the door behind me before even setting it down. I showered slowly, methodically, as if preparing for something sacred. My hands shook as I opened the box. Inside was the black dress. Simple. Elegant. Fitted at the waist, flaring gently at the hips. Alongside it, a pair of modest heels and the wig I'd spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing online. "This is ridiculous," I muttered. But I didn't stop. Pulling the dress over my body was surreal. The fabric slid against my skin, cool and smooth. It hugged me in ways I wasn't used to. I turned sideways, studying the silhouette in the mirror. Not perfect, but not wrong. Makeup came next. Foundation, blush, mascara. Each stroke felt like crossing a boundary. When I finally placed the wig on my head and adjusted it, I felt something inside me click. A quiet alignment. I straightened, softened my shoulders, tilted my chin. And there she was. Not a caricature. Not a joke. A woman looking back at me with wide, uncertain eyes. "Hi," I whispered. I don't know why that word made tears well up in my eyes. Maybe because it felt like meeting someone I'd been searching for without realizing it. I tried walking across the room in heels, wobbling at first. I practiced speaking in a lighter tone, experimenting with inflection. Each small adjustment felt like unlocking a new layer of myself. I expected shame to swallow me whole. Instead, I felt peace. Terrified peace. I spent hours that night just existing as her, sitting on the couch, crossing my legs differently, brushing imaginary strands of hair from my face. Eventually, exhaustion forced me to change back. As I peeled off the dress and wiped away the makeup, a strange sadness settled in my chest. Like I was saying goodbye to someone important. The next morning, Daniel went to work as usual. But something had changed. Because now I knew. She existed. And I could become her. I named her Elena. I don't remember when the name came to me. It just felt right. Elena wasn't fake. She wasn't a costume. She was a version of me that had always been quieter, softer, hidden under layers of expectation and fear. Weekends became my sanctuary. I'd wake up early, draw the curtains, and let Elena step into the light. I experimented more boldly, flowing skirts, fitted sweaters, subtle jewelry. I learned how to blend eyeshadow properly, how to shape my brows, how to move with intention rather than stiffness. The first time I applied eyeliner without smudging it, I actually laughed out loud. Progress, I told my reflection. But curiosity pushed me further. Staying inside wasn't enough anymore. I wanted to know how the world would see her. The first outing was small. Calculated. A late-night walk around my neighborhood. My heart nearly burst out of my chest as I locked my apartment door behind me. Elena fully formed, dark green dress, low heels, natural makeup. The hallway felt too bright. Every sound seemed amplified. What if someone steps out? What if the elevator stops and I'm trapped with a neighbor? I took the stairs. Each step echoed. By the time I reached the street, my palms were damp. The city air hit my face, cool and alive. And nothing happened. No alarms. No pointing fingers. Just life continuing as usual. A couple walked past me, barely glancing in my direction. A man held the door open at a convenience store and said, "After you." After you. 3 simple words. But they sent electricity through me. He saw a woman. I walked home that night floating. Not because I had fooled anyone, but because I had allowed myself to exist. After that, the outings became more frequent. A coffee shop across town where no one knew Daniel. A bookstore on Sunday afternoons. I learned how to lower my gaze slightly when someone made eye contact. How to smile without overthinking it. One afternoon, a barista handed me my drink and said, "Here you go, I carried that word with me for days. But confidence is fragile. And double lives are exhausting. The closer Elena came to the surface, the harder it became to keep Daniel intact. At work, I caught myself softening my gestures, letting my voice rise slightly at the end of sentences, crossing my legs differently during meetings. One afternoon, Marcus leaned across my desk. "Okay, seriously," he said. "Something's going on. You're glowing or something." I forced a laugh. Glowing? Yeah. Like you're hiding a secret. If only he knew how accurate that was. The tension built slowly, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Then came the company gala. Formal attire required. Spouses and partners invited. I stared at the email for a long time. An idea formed, reckless, terrifying. What if I went as Elena? Not as a plus one. As me. The thought made my stomach flip. It was insane. Career suicide. Social destruction. But the more I tried to dismiss it, the stronger it became. This was the moment. The crossroads. Hide forever. Or step into the light. The night of the gala, I stood in my apartment once more, fully dressed. Not in secret loungewear, but in a deep burgundy evening gown that flowed to the floor. My makeup was flawless, weeks of practice culminating in steady hands and confident strokes. I looked stunning and terrified. This is it, I whispered to my reflection. The venue was already buzzing when I arrived. Every step toward the entrance felt like walking through fire. What if someone recognizes me? What if they laugh? What if I lose everything? I handed my invitation to the attendant. She smiled. Welcome. No hesitation. No confusion. Inside, chandeliers cast golden light over the crowd. Music drifted through the air. For a moment, I just stood there, overwhelmed. Then I heard it. Daniel. My blood ran cold. I turned slowly. Marcus. His eyes widened as he took me in. The dress. The hair. The heels. The truth. For a long, excruciating second, we just stared at each other. Then he said quietly, "Is this you?" My throat felt tight. Yes. The single word held years of fear. He studied my face. Really studied it. And then something unexpected happened. He smiled. "You look happy," he said. Tears threatened to ruin my mascara. "I am," I admitted. He nodded slowly. "Then that's what matters." The tension in my chest shattered. Throughout the evening, whispers did ripple through the crowd. Curious glances. Subtle double takes. But no one laughed. No one pointed. A few colleagues even complimented my dress. By the end of the night, I wasn't shrinking under their stares. I was standing taller. Not as Daniel pretending. Not as Elena hiding. Just me. The aftermath wasn't flawless. There were questions. Awkward conversations. A few raised eyebrows. But there was also support. Unexpected allies. People who admitted they admired the courage it took. Work didn't end. Friendships didn't vanish. In fact, some grew stronger. Marcus clapped me on the shoulder one morning and said, "So, Elena gets coffee too, or what?" I laughed, a real, unguarded laugh. My double life slowly stopped feeling like two separate worlds colliding. They began blending. I no longer confined Elena to weekends. And Daniel no longer felt like a mask. They were parts of the same whole. There were still hard days. Moments of doubt. Stares that lingered too long. But the shame that once consumed me had faded. In its place was something steadier. Self-respect. Because I had faced the mirror. Faced the world. And chosen honesty over fear. If you're listening to this and feeling that same quiet curiosity I once tried to bury, I see you. I know the fear. The late-night questions. The trembling hands and racing heart. But I also know the peace that waits on the other side of courage. My double life didn't destroy me. It revealed me.